base. Maintain your current course while we... In your ship's cargo.
And when you get a moment, can we
And
talk?
we're done. Welcome to New Homestead.
Welcome to New Homestead. Please make your way to the building at the end of the path and down into the colony below. Stay safe and enjoy your visit.
Need some work done? Got anything you need to offload? Trade authorities always buying. Sure, how about it?
Look around, but don't touch.
Boy, am I glad they have a chunks here.
Damn power's on the fritz again. Joyce always seems to need help clearing ice off the equipment.
Careful. There are some dangerous areas around here that are not part of it.
We used to get more tourists than we do these days.
Some of us are quite happy with our lives here. We don't need tourists distracting us with their flights of fancy. We get a lot of tourists out this way, but most of them aren't so bold as to strike up conversations with us. What's your deal? You seem genuine enough. So what can I do for you? From what I know about farming elsewhere, it's largely the same. Big difference is that we need to import or make our own soil. And we need to be extra careful with our temperature control. Titan's surface is frozen, and it's not much better just below it with the ice caves. Then it's just a matter of artificial sunlight and supplying CO2 for the crops. It's not too challenging. No worries.
Hello. Don't mind me. I love talking with off-worlders like you. Ah, someone new. Are you a tourist, or have you just moved to New Homestead? Well, there's lots to learn. You can always feel free to try one of the historical tours, or ask the locals about life here. I'm fascinated by the other worlds in the settled systems. Do you mind if I ask you a question? Oh, wonderful. What's New Atlantis like? Oh my, that sounds incredible. Ever since I overheard one of the tourists speaking about it, I've always wanted to go. We hear about it, of course, but we rarely get much exposure to other worlds beyond the people who come from them to visit our little colony. I wonder if I can convince Nathaniel to go on a trip there with me and our daughter. Do you mind if I ask you another question? Thanks. I promise not to take too much of your time. Is the Freestar Collective as lawless as I've heard? I figured the stories weren't all true. How else would you expect people to live together if you can't trust in laws to keep everyone safe? Even in a small community like ours, we have to maintain law and order. Though, I understand it gets difficult to always protect that out in the vastness of space. I imagine it's the same in the Freestar Collective. Is it okay if I change the subject? Oh, thank you. Are there really planets full of plants, fresh air, and water? I've read about them. It seems incredible, doesn't it? I've only ever known Titan, and it's always so cold and drab. I've always dreamed of visiting one to breathe the air, feel the warmth of its sun, but my husband is reluctant to leave our home. Can I ask you something else? Thanks. I promise not to take too much of your time. Is space travel as exciting as it seems? Well, you've convinced me that I simply must go sometime. Most of us here have never left the surface of New Homestead. It's a point of pride among many people, but I've always been curious. Those are all the questions I have at the moment. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day for me.
You get used to the methane processing smell after a while.
someday, Mama?
We talked about this, Sylvie. If you want to go there for your learning vacation when you're older, you may, but not until then.
Dear, maybe we should talk about it before we say no?
You know we can't afford to leave the farm. People here depend on us.
I know.
Tell you what, your mom and I will talk about it.
Thanks, Papa. My papa doesn't really like me talking to the tourists, but how else am I going to learn about out there? Hello? I'm not really supposed to talk with tourists, but I kind of want to anyway. And I don't think my papa is paying attention. You're not going to tell him, are you? Oh, thank you! I promise it'll be fun. I like talking to tourists. I get to learn so much about everywhere else, and they get to learn about here. Now what should we talk about? Not really. There's some, though. Most are around my age. We all go to school in the same room. I don't know. I've never been to any other schools. We mostly learn about the history of the solar system and Earth and stuff like that, until we get old enough to go on our learning vacation. That's when we get to leave to go to school somewhere else for a few years, or travel and visit other worlds, try out jobs and stuff. Oh, I can't wait. My mama says it's because he thinks we'd up and leave if we found out about the rest of the worlds out there. But I keep telling him, I love it here, and I love him, and I would never leave him. He doesn't believe it. He says the kids almost always want to leave when they grow up. But not me. Nope. I just want to visit somewhere else. Maybe. I think it's pretty fun. And I get to be around my mama and my papa all day, so that's cool. They say we all have to work a little, because it takes all of us to make the community work. Just like on Earth a really, really, really long time ago. Someday, I think it'd be cool to see other places and do other things, but this is fine for now. Bye!
It's not easy keeping these ancient turbines going. I wish more people realized that. Oh, hello there. Are you here about the brownouts? That's usually the only reason people come up here to talk to me, since I'm the power system manager here. Of course you did. That's okay. It's a problem here. Citizens and visitors alike have a right to know what's going on and when to expect a fix. Problem is, I don't know how long we'll have to deal with this, because I'm needed here to oversee the whole system, and we don't currently have anyone available to go out and solve the issue at the moment. Well, I just started this job a few months ago, but I'm loving it, despite all the small frustrations of working on ancient equipment. I came here as a child and did one of the tours. I loved it so much. I know it may sound unusual. The challenge is actually one of the things. No, New Atlantis, born and raised. It's okay though. I've always liked this quaint little moon. Not that it's actually that little as far as moons go. The people here were a little wary of someone coming in from the outside, but once I changed my name in accordance with their local customs, it went a long way to build trust. And that was fine by me. I feel proud, taking on the name of the Earth City my family came from many, many years ago. Did you see those huge wind turbines out there on your way in? They're our primary source of power generation. Titan's strong winds provide an almost constant source of power, as long as we can keep the machinery from icing over. Actually, that's not a bad idea. I'm a little new to the job, and I'll admit I'm struggling a little bit. I could use some help. Oh, excellent. Then you must know how this old power system machinery can get crusted over with ice from time to time. That's what's causing these brownouts. Think you can take a laser cutter and break up the ice for us? Oh, thank you. Just be careful not to hurt yourself, or...
Hi. Me? I guess? My therapist told me I should try recording notes to myself as a way to, cope with this drastic life change. I guess the goal is to look back on it later and see progress. Anyway, I've been living here in New Homestead for, 3 months now? And it hasn't been easy. The locals are a little wary of people coming in from the outside, but they know they need me here because their previous power systems manager died unexpectedly. Got stuck out in the cold with a suit puncture. Alcohol may have been involved. Remind me not to make that same mistake. Where was I? So, I decided to go all in and change my family name to show these people I'm serious about their home. It's caused some drama with my parents, but ultimately, they understand. And to be honest, I kind of like it. I've always loved the history of this place, from its inception as an outpost searching for life, to researching how to build colonies on harsh worlds, and now as a living history museum. It's really... crap. The lights are struggling to stay on again. Well, back to fixing this place. Talk to you... me... later.
I'm really glad. You're helping us out.
I really don't get the appeal of this Chunks
Very
place.
informative. I didn't know about the methane harvesters before coming here.
The Brown Horse Tavern, was it, huh? The food was better than I expected from a backwoods planet like this.
It has a quaint charm, doesn't it?
Just like the rest of New Homestead.
Well, I hope you'll come back and see us again sometime. And I hope you'll consider another Starsap tour. Tell your friends.
Bye. We will. Thanks again.
Excuse me, Bill.
You've got to do a better job of keeping your tour groups out of trouble.
What do you mean?
That little boy almost wound up on my operating table. Claudio said he was playing with some of the machinery down by the mines and nearly got his arm stuck inside. It could have been ripped off.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know, kids, little troublemakers. I'll tell the guests to be more careful.
Damn right. You've got to do something, or else next time it happens, I'm billing you personally.
Yeesh. Why, hello there! For instance, did you know that New Homestead was one of the first colonies established outside of Earth? It's been populated in some capacity for over 200 years. Yes, sirree, and that's not science fiction, it's science fact. So what do you say? I've got to know. Definitely check out the brown. Avoid spending too much time. Any more than that. And... Excellent! You won't. Now there's just the matter of price. The gun. Well. You know what? I like you. Make. I know. I gotta work on my pitch a little. Tell you what, I like. Go on the road, eh? Having fun, I hope. I'll be here if you need anything. I hope this tour is meeting your ex. None taken. I get it all the time. If you think it sounds made up, well, that's because it is. I come from an eccentric family. Back in the early, they wanted a name that seemed like it fit into the stories they grew. Used to be Bramblefoot before that. Theron. Why would I want it? Well, let me tell you. New Homes. If you've ever wanted to know. Have a good one.
Unimaginable history. I cannot overstate how important it was for all of humanity.
I guess so.
What did we think of the tour?
Very informative. I didn't know about the methane harvesters before coming here.
The, Braunhorst Tavern, was it, huh? The food was better than I expected from a backwoods planet like this.
It has a quaint charm, doesn't it?
Just like the rest of New Homestead.
Well, I hope you'll come back and see us again sometime. And I hope you'll consider another Starcept tour. Tell your friends.
I will. Thanks again.
Excuse me, Bill. You've got to do a better job of keeping your tour groups out of trouble.
What do you mean?
That little boy almost wound up on my operating table. Claudio said he was playing with some of the machinery down by the mines and nearly got his arm stuck inside. It could have been ripped off.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know, kids, little troublemakers. I'll tell the guests to be more careful.
Damn right. You've got to do something, or else next time it happens, I'm billing you personally.
Yeesh. Why, hell? For instance, did you... Well, there's plenty more where that... So what do you say? I come from... They wanted a name that used to be Bramblefoot. Why would I want it? Well, let me tell you. If you've ever wanted to... Definitely check out the Brown. Avoid spending too much. Any more than that. Excellent! Now there's just a man. Well. You know what? That's okay. This tour is... True. Hey, tell you what. I might be able to lower the price for you. Just let me think about it. Tell you what. I like you. This one's on the house, but if you enjoyed the tour, so let's get this. All right, so this is New Homestead's main concourse. This underground area didn't exist when the original outpost, Titan Astro Base, was finished in 2130. Follow me. We'll come back here by the end of the tour and talk about the museum collection. But first, let's go see where people live.
Maybe I need to look up
Now
more
remember,
about it.
these people aren't actors. They actually live here, so try to be respectful of that. While the original inhabitants of the Titan Astro Base lived in pods like you saw up above, they transitioned down here when this section of the base was finished in 2144. Space is extremely limited, so you'll notice some overflow here, but more residences also exist on lower levels, which are inaccessible to tours. I'll stop at each of our destinations if you want to look around, or if you have any questions for me.
It's always so cold.
Have any questions so far? Alrighty, we'll be taking the residential elevator to the... Let's leave these good people alone for now and go check out the farms. Follow me up the elevator.
The people here live a simple life. Try not to complicate it.
New Homestead's farms are the beating heart of the colony. Without them, the original outpost would have shriveled and died. These pods are sealed and climate controlled, a perfect environment for growing the hydroponic vegetation needed for survival in the early days of the colony.
But didn't they have big open fields and
It's
giant
weird
machines?
that people come here to
We
see
don't
what
have any
early
of that.
colony life was like. To me, it's just how we live.
It's because we have a much smaller space to work with.
So then, it's not really the same, is it? How is it a tradition if it's not the same thing as they did? And so then, why is it important that we preserve it?
I don't know, it just is. No, we don't want to fall behind the book, so let's get back to it, okay, kiddo?
Okay, fine.
Any questions about the farms? Onward it is! We'll be stopping by the Brown Horse Tavern later in the tour, which uses many of these locally sourced ingredients in their cooking. But for now, it's just a short way to... So, the old biolabs are just on the other side of this building, believe it or not. We'll step on through the hallway there. They're not in use anymore, but the colony has faithfully recreated them as a historical exhibit, true to the original purpose of the Titan Astro Base. Sadly, they're undergoing some light renovation. Otherwise, there'd be interactive activities for kids to learn about how they used to search for microbial life here.
Heads up if you're planning on going to Chunks. Luther's been bothering anyone with a ship for help.
Pardon the dust, but I can still answer some... You got it! On to our next stop! Next, we'll be heading outside, so make sure to check those seals on your suit, because it's a bit chilly out there. We're going out into the frozen wastes of Titan to see what powers this planet. Watch your step outside, by the way. The ice can be slippery if you're not careful. The goal is to keep people out of Dr. Lakota's infirmary.
Anyway, where were we? Oh, yes. Powering New Homestead. As you might imagine, generating energy was a real challenge back in the day because the technology was much more crude then. But crude or not, it was that technology that sustained the old Astro base. And it might surprise you to learn that the same technology is still working today. The interesting thing about this old colony is that it's mostly powered by clean, renewable energy. You'll see one of the methods used on the horizon up ahead. That's right! New Homestead's famous wind farms! This spot was chosen for the colony in part because of its constant winds. These turbines have been integral to the colony's function since its establishment as a cheap, mostly reliable source of electricity. So, let's talk about wind power, shall we? Mostly. I'm sure you've noticed the occasional brownouts. I guess these old machines have a habit of freezing up, what with all the ice out here. There's some methane on reserve for critical life support systems, but everything else here is otherwise powered by the units you see here. You're looking at a piece of history. Sure, wind power is used throughout the galaxy, but these people were able to make do with it. It's impressive! That was all they had back then. You're right. Most surface wind on Titan isn't too terribly strong, but here, like many worlds with atmosphere, the higher you... You're the boss! Let's go! Moving right along, we're going to learn about Titan's great natural resources. Titan is rich with hydrocarbons like methane and ethane. Surely you saw huge pools of the stuff on your descent into New Homestead. I like to think they add to the natural beauty of this world. Though of course stay away from them because, like anything beautiful, they can be dangerous. Just like my last ex-wife's pet. She has this gorgeous, I don't know what you'd call it, creature. The guy that sold it to her couldn't tell her what it was or where it was from. I don't think it was even a legal sell, to be honest. The thing was very easy on the eyes. Feathers, all the colors of the rainbow. Nasty bite, though. Wound up in the hospital and almost lost my hand. Still not enough for her to get rid of the dang thing. Anyway, there's a reason she's my ex-wife. But enough about me. We were talking about methane and other resources, right? Hey, can you believe it? Back in the 20th century on Earth, they used to fight wars over natural resources like this and petroleum. They had this whole moon here basically made of hydrocarbons in their own backyard. They just couldn't get to it. Incredible how far we've come. New Homestead is home to one of the oldest and largest methane processing plants in the settled system. Every year, UC engineers go through a painstaking, month-long maintenance process. That's how this place has remained operational as long as it has. I'm not going to take you too close to the machinery, liability and all, but I can still answer questions. Questions? Fire away! Exports mostly, since this world is so methane-rich and has the infrastructure for it, a lot of the UC's methane comes from Titan. Of course, new homesteaders use it themselves for everything from generating heat to turning it into breathable oxygen by a modern science. Oh, no one's ever asked me that before. Something to do with methane-eating microbes, I believe? I honestly don't know. Sorry. It's not as if they shut down for a month. It's not shut down at all, actually. See, this place is built with redundant systems, so they can shut it down piece by piece and suffer only a reduction in throughput. During that time, the UC gets more of its resources from other places, allowing New Homestead to maintain what it needs. Okie dokie, artichokey. There will be time for more later anyway. So, this next stop is a bit of an interesting one. I only recently made it part of the tour. Fun fact, it's also the only natural landmark on the tour. One out the fire we affectionately call Ymir's Horn. This Colis used to be named after a character in a popular fantasy novel, but it was changed a couple hundred years ago to avoid any potential litigation. Now, what's a Colis, you might say? Colis derives from the Latin word for hill, and scientists only gave names to groups of hills on a planet's surface. So in reality, the term you hear more often is the plural, colis, with an E. You probably don't hear it very often where you're from, because it was usually a term reserved for unexplored planets, back when they didn't have the technology to describe what they were seeing firsthand. Because of that, the term is much more common in the Sol system, but you may still hear it occasionally in reference to uncharted worlds. This planet's full of them, though, and they like to preserve that history here. So here it is, Ymir's Horn. You're free to take a closer look if you like. How about that? You really know your stuff. Maybe you should be the one giving the tour. I kid. I'm not sure. I heard someone say that before. Something about the worn-down remains of an ancient volcano producing ice via steam? I don't know. It sounds like you understand this stuff better than I do. According to ancient Norse mythology, Ymir was the first Jotun, a frost giant. Ymir even predated the Norse gods, who, as it turns out, killed Ymir to fashion... It's a fascinating story, and... Excellent! On to the next stop, then! So, we're gonna head back inside, through the methane processing plant. Try not to touch anything on your way. We want to make sure to respect Dr. Lakota's wishes to be safer around here. That brings me to another point. You'll notice the people around here have last names related to where their families originated from on Earth, as a way to remember the past. The museum curator, Maurice Leon, has more information about that if you're interested. You can find him inside the main concourse. Loves talking about it. You'll find most of the locals here are very friendly to tourists like yourself. Tourism is a major draw to this colony these days, and I respect that. Most of them are happy to talk at length about what they do here. Their rugged lifestyle is a point of pride for a lot of these folks.
got another leak in Sector 3.
Again? That's the second time this month.
I know.
This
I'll
area we're
send
walking
someone
through
to
is
patch
the
up.
nerve center of the plant.
We
where
do what we gotta
technicians
do
keep
until we
an
can
eye
get
on
the
the
approval to
operation.
replace the whole unit.
Since methane production is such an important part of the colony's livelihood, it's important that the techs notice any issues and react to them quickly. Anyway, we're headed into the ice mines. It's a natural spring where water bubbles up from deep below, but due to the cold, it keeps freezing as it reaches the surface. What else can I tell you about the ice mines? Not all. Some water is created as a byproduct of methane processing, but that's usually saved in the emergency reserves. Good question. I believe it has something to do with not wanting to contaminate the water with methane and other chemicals. The ice helps prevent impurities in the water. At least this is what I've been told. I wouldn't recommend it. First, it's an active work site. Second, it still needs to be filtered and checked for contaminants. But don't worry, we'll stop somewhere for refreshments before the tour is over. Sounds good. Let's keep going then. We have just one more stop before we're done with the tour, and it just happens to be my favorite. This colony is home to the longest-running establishment still in existence, the Brown Horse Tavern. The Brown Horse started as a simple mess hall for the scientists and workers when the underground was built, but it's been operated by the same family ever since. Now, what's a horse, you might say? They were a large four-legged animal on Earth, often used for transportation or manual labor. Long before space travel was even a dream for the folks of Earth, even before antique machines like automobiles were possible, horses could be found everywhere. You might have seen them in old movies or read about them somewhere. If not, I highly recommend looking into them sometime. They're beautiful animals. The tavern's original owner was infatuated with them, from what I understand, and named the place in their honor.
Don't stay outside for too long here on Titan. You'll freeze solid without the proper protection.
Hundreds of years before it was established.
When the time's right, I'd appreciate a chat. It's good to be on the boat. Lives get stuffy sometimes.
That delicious smell is... easy. All the other ones fell to ruin when we abandoned Earth. There were technically older ones on Mars, but those have long since shuttered or been replaced. Need some more time to think about it? Anya Seattle is the current owner of the Brown Horse. It's been in the Seattle family for generations. But Anya will be able to tell you more herself. Feel free to ask her. It doesn't feel right coming from me when she's standing right over there. Okay then. All right, we're headed to the last stop. Right back where we began. Feel free to check out the museum exhibit in the main concourse here. These displays are full of rare Earth trinkets salvaged from before humanity left, and Maurice is happy to talk about the collection. The museum's curator, Maurice, will be happy to talk to you if you want to know more. Well, that's that! I hope you enjoyed Starcept Tours as much as I enjoy giving them. You're welcome, and thank you. Take care.